to the Fantasy Footballers Dynasty podcast with Borg, Betz, and a baller.
Welcome in. It's Wednesday, February 12th here, Fantasy Footballers Dynasty podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Borganoni, and I'm joined by Mike Wright and someone who is just levitating right now, Matthew Betz.
I don't know what you're talking about, Kyle.
The world is pretty pleased that so we do a video version of this podcast. If you are not familiar, at youtube.com/something, it's there. I don't know, but if you search for Fantasy Footballers Dynasty, we're there. But we go, waist up, and I think that's for the best because I do not think Matthew Betz has pants on, nor has he had pants on since Sunday night.
Right at about 5 minutes left in the second quarter, pants were off. After the Cooper DeJean pick six.
So you're saying at the point we all knew the game was over.
That's correct. Pants were off.
Which was in the second quarter.
They have not been on since. The Chiefs, they're human after all. What a wild game. I mean, the spread was, 1 point? Like, nobody could have predicted that happening, but yes, I'm very happy, as you can all tell, based off what happened. So what a fun season.
It must be nice. Imagine, Kyle. Imagine what it's like to have your team win a Super Bowl.
I've never been there.
Kyle did text me during the game. He said, I really hope they don't Falcon this.
I basically said, you guys are such cowards. I mean, you guys are up by more than 25. We know how to blow this. I wish you did. Congrats, man. Congrats on, assembling a roster that's just unbelievable of just SEC football players. That's all it is. It's just players that played at Georgia and Alabama.
Yeah, they know what they're doing, and shout out to the Philadelphia fans. Congratulations. I got hit and stuck. You guys, sometimes you're scrolling the reels, and you watch one video, and they're like, would you like only these videos? And I'm like, not really. But I got stuck in the Philadelphia celebrations. Matthew, what are your people doing?
Destructive.
The thing
that's
is,
not celebration.
It doesn't
man.
make any sense in any city ever. I'd be like, we won. Let's tear it down. It's just what are you doing?
It's so weird. I mean, I saw some funny stuff, some brutal stuff. It's just I'm like, I don't know what these Philadelphia fans are doing, but I guess this is what people do there in Philly when they're happy.
I did see a video.
I'd go get I'd be like, cheesesteak. Let's do this, all of them.
Yeah, that's a great move. I did see a video of several people riding horseback through the city.
Yes, I saw them.
That they should not have been on a horse.
Ever.
They should not have been on a horse.
Yeah, I saw them. They I didn't track it down, but I mean the captions are maybe they're just trying to be salacious, but it's like people have stolen the police force because we have horse cops out there,
yes.
Or at least some cities do.
Horse cops.
Yeah, I mean we don't really have horse cops over here, which you'd think the desert would have horse cops. I mean we are really lacking that, but so I don't know if they commandeered those from the police, but people were
it was a time.
nuts.
I jokingly told my wife, I was like, I'm taking the girls to the parade on Friday. She's like, you are not. I was like, yeah. They have to experience it. And when I told them about the parade, this year was their first year watching the Macy's Day Parade on Thanksgiving morning. And they were like, oh, cool, with floats and animals. I was like, well, more Bud Lights, drunk people, exciting things. That my wife is just you're not doing this.
And if two of you make it back, if I can get two of you back, then I did a great job.
That's right. Yeah, we'll see. One of my favorite post-Eagles moments in the locker room was Landon Dickerson, their offensive lineman, rolling around an IV pole in one hand, I guess for just hydration after the game or something, with a beer in the other hand. So it was just peak recovery mode for Dickerson. But
dude, you got to be smart, man. You got to stay hydrated.
I respect it.
Yeah.
Well, Betz, I'm sure you're going to get to live off of that for a week or two. And then you get to put your head fully into NFL draft mode. That's what we're going to be doing on this episode. We're going to be doing part 2 of scouting the running backs. So the first 5 we talked about last week with Jason. We're doing a little bit of a deeper dive with Mike this week. And maybe also just having a discussion of what translates to the NFL. I think I'm having this awakening about running backs And specifically, I was looking today about how we look at running backs and their explosive runs. I feel like, what would you say, Mike, is the yardage that you would say, like, that is a really good gain for a running back? Because 15 yards is awesome. It just doesn't happen that much. So, like, would you say if someone consistently gets 5 yards, that's really good? 10 is like, if you hit 10 consistently, that's great. I just feel like
I missed the question.
We overvalue long speed is really what I'm saying.
Oh, that is for sure.
And I think 15-yard runs don't happen as much as we think.
Okay, I think I missed what you're saying. But yeah, you're saying how many explosive runs in a game would be good? 10. Good Lord. If you're getting 10 explosive runs in a game, you're running for like 150, 200 yards a game. Like, I mean, I would expect and hope for that 3 to 5 range. Like, that's when that's how a running back gets to 100 yards on the week.
I think for fantasy football discussion, it's one thing in this season where you're about to get some combine numbers, and we're going to update everything in the Dynasty Pass, in the Ultimate Draft Kit Plus. We're going to get a bunch of numbers we can plug in. The NFL, it shifts how they think about certain players, and they get boosted in their stock. Last year, a player that we talked about, Jalen Wright, became a really hot name, and it really moved up dynasty boards when he was taken by the Dolphins, and they traded like a future third-round pick for this guy. So his 40 time looked really good, and then translated in the NFL, it was not so good. Didn't get a ton of playing time, and when he did, it was a really low success rate. So I guess my discussion today, we did some film watching, we'll talk about this, but what translates to the NFL? And, we're just a couple of bozos trying to figure out from college film what translates. And I think I'm trying to figure it out.
Yeah, the way, if you've been following the show, number one, thank you. But if you have not, the way I scout running backs personally, because everybody does everything different. I lay out. How many categories I got? 6. I have 6 categories where I kind of give my 1 to 5 rating, of these guys. So I'm looking for power, vision, burst, burst is like the short area speed, long speed. Let's see, do they have it? Balance and catching. And to me, burst and balance, those are the things that I am personally looking for the most. And then pass catching, of course, is you got to have pass catching if you're going to be that 3 down, like a Barkley type of a player where they get drafted high enough, and that they can be a 3 down. This person could be sensational for fantasy, but there's so few guys that can do those, do everything. So I'm looking for burst. Can you get to the which run scheme are you going to be good for? Are you going to be good for just a man scheme? You're going to be good for a zone block scheme, and then your balance. If you get hit, do you go down immediately? Do you fall forward? Do you just absorb the contact? Ashton Genty style, where I think I gave the comp of, it feels like he just grows roots like a superhero. Every time he gets hit, he just goes, and then they bounce off. The roots come back up, and then he keeps running at full speed again. It's amazing. We do have, actually, Genty's the hot name that everybody who's not in everything, that we know Genty. There's a lot of really interesting running backs. Normally, the day 2, here, as you guys already covered the big guys, you're like, okay, well, maybe one of these players in this tier will hit. I think we can have some really impactful running backs from this group of guys that could get decent draft capital, or even if they don't, they get a 4th round thing, and then they buck the trend. This running back crop is very exciting to me, because they're all scoring much higher than I would have expected for a group as a whole.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. There's the guys we talked about last week are clearly in their own tier or 2 above these guys, but I'd be very surprised if you looked back in a year or 2 and a couple of the guys on this list, or even some of the late sleepers in this class, are going to hit. There's really good, really fun players in this class. So that's kind of been the theme. It's a very deep running back class, and it continues today on the show with a lot of the names that we're going to talk about.
If you want to get all of our production profiles, our rookie rankings, rookie mock drafts, you can get them at ultimatedraftkit.com. We just updated everything, and right now I'm looking at our startup rankings, which that is a tall task that I think people don't realize when you put together a list of every single player in the league across so many different, age cycles and where they're at, it's really hard. And so I want to just ask you a question first, Mike, and then Betz, I want you to point out a couple players. But in our rankings, in our startup rankings, who were some of the hardest players for you to rank?
So this might be a little bit more niche, but it does work for single quarterback too. It's it's for my those sickos out there, the 2 QB people, and number one, just ranking QBs for Dynasty in a 2 QB when we have a good handful of elite wide receivers, and we have. It's like, how do you balance that compared to having someone like Lamar or Josh Allen? But I got to Patrick Mahomes, speaking of the Kansas City Chiefs, and it's, what in the freaking world do you do with Patrick Mahomes when we always say, go after talent, situations change, talent does not, and Mahomes has the talent. He's given us that 5,000-yard, 40 touchdown season. But the last 2 years, the Kansas City Chiefs have morphed into this really unfun offense. It's not overly productive. Mahomes is, almost 30. Not that he can't play for quite a while after this, but it's like, what do you do when this team has now shown you for 2 years that maybe this is who they want to be? Like, do you take that bet? When you're in a startup situation, how high of a bet do you place that Patrick Mahomes is going to bounce back to who he was 3 years ago, 4 years ago? So he is, I think, extremely difficult. And he's Patrick Mahomes. Like, the name value of Mahomes for fantasy should be incredible. And yet we have a guy who is not a difference maker, but he could be if the Chiefs would just stop lollygagging with this bullcrap they're putting on the field. I'm hoping that after the butt whooping they got from the Eagles, that they go, all right, it's time to turn it back up. It's time to turn the juice on and let the fantasy points flow. So that he is Mahomes to me in both single and double or a 2 quarterback. Like, I don't really know what to do with him.
Yeah, in startup drafts for years, it's kind of been you take Mahomes in Superflex leagues.
Yeah, and just auto draft the rest of your team,
right.
Log out.
Yeah, don't even worry about the rest. And now you have a real decision point where you get past Lamar, you get past Josh Allen, and then you start to ask yourself, like, how far does he fall? And then how does he fall in with the other wide receivers there? What running backs? So, yeah, I noticed that you're a little bit lower than Jason and Andy. That's also how you play 2 quarterback Dynasty, Mike. And that's a choice. That's how you do it. But I would agree, like, it's not an automatic that you're just going to take this guy at the end of the first round or even mid-second round anymore.
Well, I mean, the last 2 years in 4-point, he's averaging like 17.5 points. That's not difference-making quarterback numbers where you have to draft. If you want Mahomes, you got to draft him in a spot where there are true difference-making fantasy players, and you're really hoping he bounces back because 3 years ago it was 24.5 points in a 4-point scoring format. That's incredible. But 7 points fewer a game. I mean, that's just killing people.
Yeah, I wonder, he's so tough, right? Because if you go back to July and August before the season this year, a lot of the analysis around the league, and I pretty much agree with it, was like, we might actually see the old version of Mahomes and the Chiefs because they drafted the fastest player ever, Xavier Worthy. They have Rashee Rice, who we thought might get suspended, was not suspended, so he's going to be healthy for the entire season. They signed Hollywood Brown, who he's not the best overall wide receiver in the league, but he can stretch the field and he can do some stuff after the catch. So you kind of saw, like, on paper, they tried to put more of that explosive offense around Mahomes, and then the injury to Hollywood, the injury to Rashee Rice, and before you know it, they're trading for a not as elite version of DeAndre Hopkins as he once was. Juju's running routes again. It's just the worst fear we had was, like, it's happening again. Like, and I don't know if that's a choice or just they were forced into it because of the injuries and that sort of thing. So, man, to me, it's all about market price for Mahomes. Like, I'm willing to see he could get back to those days with Worthy potentially taking a year or two leap. We're still waiting on Rashee Rice off the field suspension type stuff, but I think you saw, like, an effort to put those pieces around him last offseason.
The DeAndre Hopkins play in the Super Bowl where
drop?
he was running a crosser, and I still don't know what happened.
He put like
'cause I
one
haven't-
hand out. He didn't even try to catch it with two hands.
Yeah, I don't know if the throw was bad but it was a wide open DeAndre Hopkins, and I got real sad.
Yeah.
like watching that, I was like, this dude, like this was the guy, this was the dude, and now this is where we're at in the Super Bowl. He's running free, and he's just like, I didn't catch that ball.
That's
Oh
how I
my
felt about
gosh.
Julio at the end, where it's like he's on these teams. He was a Titan. He was a Buck. He was an Eagle for a second, where it's just like, oh, this is a shell of who you used to be.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple of Chiefs players. Rashee Rice, you brought up. Betz, you have Pacheco on here, who we brought him up last year as one of those year 3 running backs that could be super volatile because they have 1 year left on their contract now. He gets injured. He gets passed by Hunt, who Hunt was not good in terms of yards per carry, but he was very good. He was 3rd among all running backs in rush success rate. So it was a weird thing where he did what he was supposed to do and basically nothing else. And now if you have Pacheco in Dynasty, it's like, what do I do with this player?
For sure, yeah. And obviously coming back from the injury, like you would expect him to not be himself in the first 3, 4, 5 games, but you thought, okay, when they get to the playoffs, like he'll overtake Hunt the way it used to be and he'll get back to himself. And the team just said, no, we prefer Hunt. Like for like 6 or 7 weeks in a row, his snap count, his share of the running back touches went down every single week. And so the last thing that you have on your mind as a Dynasty player is watching the Chiefs choose, I don't even know how old he is now, 30 years old, I guess, 29, Kareem Hunt, over Pacheco, who like when he's healthy is explosive and exciting. So it's just not a good feeling, especially when you realize he's a former 7th round pick entering a contract year. And I put him on the list today because I think it's really important in Dynasty to think about this archetype of player matched with the incoming rookies, meaning everybody, and we agree, this rookie class is very good from a running back perspective. If even just like 3 to 5 of these guys over the next year or two take starting jobs in the NFL, it's going to be very difficult for the next group of free agent running backs in this year and next year to really have a huge market out there is my kind of take. So yeah, Pacheco next year at this time, we're going to be talking about him. He'll be a free agent. He'll be 27 years old. It's generally not what NFL teams are looking for unless you're the elite of the elite. And unfortunately, Pacheco, isn't in the same tier as those guys. So man, he's tough because I could see a scenario where it's like, oh, he does get back to being the bell cow for the Chiefs and you want that guy on your roster. I could also see a scenario where they draft somebody or sign somebody and before you know it, his value is gone. So yeah, Pacheco's really tough.
I think that's a really good point to bring up. And we can't always time it up or forecast it the right way. But like you think about this past year's free agency with running backs, and they mostly all hit the older dudes that we were like, I don't know about Jacobs. He had an inefficient season. Is he going to work on a new team? Couple that with a weak rookie class, and it just timed up super well, where you didn't see these guys overtake players. You even saw veterans like Connor and Montgomery like get contract extensions. So it is one of those things, like you can't always look at this class and go, they're going to be good, and therefore it's going to hurt next year's free agency. But this seems to be a class where, like you said, if we get up to 5 names that are at least like startable running backs in the NFL, that will shift how we look at the veterans. And with Pacheco, is it one of those things, if you have him, you just kind of hold out because like the value's so low after he ran for like 7 yards in the Super Bowl, something like that?
I think you probably have to hold. I mean, if you're really like, I could see the end coming pretty soon here for the value. I think you might want to get out before the NFL draft. There's a chance they take somebody. I don't know how high or how early, but the running back room, we just did Team Opportunity in the Dynasty Pass. Like, they don't really have anybody after next year. So they definitely need a running back on this roster.
I think there is a very high chance of a day 2 running back for Kansas City. And if you got Pacheco on that roster, when they're up, when the clock is going for the Kansas City Chiefs, you are going to be freaking out, man.
Pacheco or a 2?
Oh, man.
I'd probably take
because Pacheco could literally be nothing 2 years from now.
I'd probably take the second.
So sad.
Yeah, it's really hard to not take that too, because of the back of the first round. To me, the NFL draft could make us all look stupid, but because of the amount of running backs I like, mixed with the like there's going to be receivers drafted early because that's the NFL, but it's like the back of the first is looking pretty good, and early second to me. It's starting to shape up that it's more of a stronger rookie class for running backs. If you need wide receivers, then maybe you just, I don't know, like it'll be much harder to replenish your wide receiver stock in this draft.
I mean,
wow, they have 2 running backs under contract.
They've got Pacheco and somebody else that I've never heard of, Aiden.
Another Borg.
Borgay? I don't know.
I'll tell you.
Kyle's that your cousin?
I'll tell you who's not going to be on the team is Samaje Perine. Did you guys see that clip?
What's that?
Where he didn't get dapped up on the
Mahomes
sideline.
Going down the line, dapping everybody up, and then, I mean, it could have been that he got a little excited to go dap up his boy Travis Kelce, but Samaje Perine was in line. He was next for the dap, and he got passed over.
Let Pacheco be a case in like what we're saying in Dynasty and what we want this player to be on an offense that we've always said we want to be a part of. But last year, he was a top 12 running back in Dynasty in startups.
To me, everything was the injury. Like that injury screwed everything up because he was on his way to having at least, 2 weeks. But to me, he was on the way to having like a ton of volume. Not that the Chiefs are not the high-powered offense we want them to be, but a ton of work for that team. And he's going to score touchdowns. So to remove him from that, and then you make this run, and you had to bring in Kareem Hunt, and then you bring Pacheco back. Was Betz, in your opinion, injury-wise, did it, when they were like, oh, he's going to be back this week, did it surprise you, or did you feel like that was on normal timeline?
Pretty normal timeline. It's just a tough injury to come back from in season for a fractured fibula. It just takes time to ramp up as far as your strength and explosiveness. So I wasn't surprised that like in the first month, it was kind of a timeshare with Hunt as the 1A. But I did think that like by the time they got to the playoffs, Pacheco would be the dude. And obviously they favored Hunt. So that was not ideal.
All right, I want to throw out one more player that I find really hard to rank. It's George Pickens, who's entering his 4th year in the league. He turns 24 next month. So a lot of youth, a lot of excitement so far in 3 seasons. He's been the wide receiver 36, 26, 41. And yet, I think he's one of those players that's really easy to rank and, as a top 24 wide receiver, probably top 20 for a lot of people because there's excitement and you see the best parts of him. You also see the worst parts of him. Where does his own team like him? Does his coach like him? Is he going to be on this team? Because historically, the Steelers have not paid these wide receivers. So there's a lot of unknowns with Pickens. And I think so far for fantasy, he's kind of been more of a wide receiver 3 flex. He's going to get paid more than that, though, if he gets a free agent deal from somebody or they trade him or something plays out. So I find it really hard to rank. I have him on one of my Dynasty rosters. And I think I'm going to hold because, like, if I just keep getting, like, wide receiver 26 production, it's like, that's not what I want. I think there's more, but I don't want to trade him away on the cheap and he blows up. So what is y'all's thoughts on Pickens?
I agree with those things. The fact that he is still doing kind of boneheaded things on the side of he's a very fiery, emotional player, and like there's times for that, but there's a lot of times that you're like, you got to get that under control, and Mike Tomlin has just been willing to deal with it for now, because look at the Steelers, the Steelers wide receiver core. It was Roman Wilson. I'm not 100% sure what happened there with the early injury to Roman Wilson, and then the Steelers were just like, no, you just wait till next year. We're going to trade for Mike Williams. We're going to play Van Jefferson. Like this is a wide receiver room that desperately needs guys with talent, so I think they're willing to put up with George Pickens' extracurriculars, but I don't know how long. And then on top of that, it's like looking in total yardage, in total passing yards, the Steelers barely had more passing yards than the Indianapolis Colts. It was brutally bad when it comes to actual production. Like the Tennessee Titans had more passing yards than the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, it's the names in front of the Steelers. It's embarrassing. And how is that going to fix? How is that going to get better? You know, the rumors with Russ are all over the place. If they lose out on Russ, do they bring Justin Fields back? Well, that's exciting and fun for fantasy for Justin Fields, not so much for the guys catching the ball. So he is in a really, really weird purgatory of not 100% sure that he can be the guy. His situation is brutal, and so I'm with you, Kyle, that he is. I'm going to probably hold if I have him because he's still playable. It's just frustrating that you can see like elite talent every once in a while, and it hasn't translated into being a top option.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. And certainly the situation he's in with the pass volume as low as it is with Arthur Smith, I don't think that's changing this year. So it's tough. He's going to have to just crush with efficiency. And if they do bring in better competition for targets, like you said, the wide receiver depth chart there was borderline embarrassing this year. It's hard to see it really getting better. I do want to highlight for anybody that's in the Dynasty Pass, Marvin Eloquin's one of our writers, does a lot of great work in Dynasty, also on the DFS side of things, like modeling as far as prospects and things like that. He does a Dynasty life cycle article, and he has a lot of good data showing, you know, most of the breakouts we look for at wide receiver, they happen in the first year or the second year. Years ago, it was, you're a year 3 wide receiver, you're going to break out. Yeah. Now it's like, dude, if you don't do it in your second week of the regular season, like, are you even going to play in the NFL anymore?
Or you're Devontae Parker.
Or you're Devontae Parker.
Oh, yeah, and you have one good year. But, I mean, would you call Pickens 1,105 a breakout? So that was his sophomore year.
Yeah, so for his modeling, it's more about the fantasy production.
Total fantasy points.
And, you know, at some point, I think when a guy shows you who they are for 3 years in a row, that's probably who they are, which isn't bad. Like, Pickens is a fine flex that can give you boom weeks or a wide receiver 3 for your Dynasty roster. But I think people that like had been wanting him to develop into a top 12 guy, a top 15 guy, I think I'm out on that. We haven't seen it, and I'm not sure we're going to see it.
If you want to look at all those rankings, once again, you get them in the Dynasty Pass part of the Ultimate Draft Kit Plus. Right now, I've actually downloaded them, copied them over, and then highlighted the ones that I find the hardest to rank. And we'll be talking about some of those players this offseason. You can actually do the same thing. So ultimatedraftkit.com. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll talk about these running backs.
Hey, rookie. Welcome to the NFL.
So last week, we talked about the top 5 running backs. If you want to go back and listen to that episode, good lengthy discussion on those guys that'll certainly be taken on day 1, day 2. And I think we have a couple players here that we think can fit in round 2, round 3 of the NFL draft. Just kind of depends on team fit. So we'll talk about that in a second. I did want to quickly mention, I did the work behind the scenes of players that are in the Senior Bowl. And some of these guys we talk about today, we're all in the Senior Bowl. They slowly get elevated in dynasty drafts because they get exposure, right? Like, you hear about these names, they showed out against seniors. And for running backs, overall, it's not actually been a good signal if you're in the Senior Bowl, because running back's one of those positions where we want players that are younger. And also, it's just a lot of players that are getting exposure that we kind of fit. Like, running back's always been a position that we kind of boost players into that end of first round rookie picks. The, Trey Sermons, Michael Carters, Damian Pierce, all of these guys were Senior Bowl players. I mean, there's some diamonds in the rough, like Chase Brown was the year before. Kareem Hunt was a Senior Bowl player, but by and large, the Senior Bowl is mostly things that we look at for wide receivers. And we'll talk about that in a couple weeks. Like, if you're a wide receiver balling out the Senior Bowl and you have some buzz, we kind of pay attention to that. And like Cooper Kupp, Deebo Samuel, those were the dudes that were shown out. But I wanted to quickly talk about running backs in the combine. We're going to get that in a month or so. The NFL loves a 40 time, and we all love a 40 time. It's the sexiest one. And yet it's kind of overvalued in the NFL. If we get those, like last year, Bucky Irving was too slow for his size and was actually discredited, not just by us. Like, I moved him down, but also the NFL did. Like, it kind of punished him a little bit. So what do you guys think actually matters at the combine? I mean, height and weight actually does like adjust some of our model and the way that we look at things. And everybody's going to be shorter and everyone's going to be a little bit lighter. I guess there's a couple dudes that are going to get fatter, but usually it's like you're a little smaller.
Kyle.
Everybody's putting on a little pounds. Betz, how much have you gained in the last 2 days?
Honestly, not that much. I'm holding steady, Kyle.
You're the worst person to ask, too.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have.
My wife and I are also...
I celebrated with some celery and some carrots.
Let my hair down, had
That's
an
what
apple.
you sound like, Beth. I got a little wild. I had some berries, guys.
My wife and I are also wrapping up. I don't know if you guys have ever done Whole 30. 30 days of basically it's like all whole foods, all healthy. And we didn't even look at the calendar.
I have not.
We didn't even look at the calendar. And all of a sudden we're like,
oh man,
Super Bowl Sunday is this weekend. We have one more week left. Like, what are we doing? So yeah, it was not a great Super Bowl from a food experience for me.
Do you eat some whole grains?
You can't even eat grains.
It's a lot of
just
cooking.
Whole foods.
It's a lot of whole
It's so
foods,
much
yeah.
cooking.
Potatoes, vegetables, meat, fruit.
Can you DoorDash or Uber Eats Whole Foods?
Not really. No.
It's basically no sugar.
I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm out.
So
I'm
you're
a
the wrong
fan.
person to ask. I'm dropping weight at the combine this year.
Okay, good. I'm a fan of Whole 30, by the way. I would say the one that matters the most, and it kind of fits in with what Mike was saying earlier about short area burst, is the 3-cone drill. And there's been some great work from different people. Kevin Cole of Unexpected Points, he looked at what has mattered over the last decade and how it translates to the first 3 years of value for running back. And the 3-cone drill was what mattered the most, and it was also had the biggest discrepancy of what the NFL was looking at. And I think that kind of translates, right? I look at this player and I go, oh, you got that burst that you can get to the hole, or you can read a defense, not necessarily long speed. Like, I think that's one of the things that we're all going to talk about today.
Yeah, long speed. I mean, they're running a 40-yard dash. How often are players running 40 or more yards
Untouched
down the field with no pads on and no helmet on? I mean, it's a little bit weird how we do it, but it is exciting. I'm not saying it's not. When you see a guy run really, really fast, like, that's cool. But I like 3-cone a lot. If people are willing, it's weird how people are even willing to do what tests anymore.
Right.
But 3-cone and then high or vertical jump and broad jump, like, because that's a signal towards short area burst. Because if you got them strong legs, then you're more than often than not you're going to have a quick first step.
And last year, just for those who want to know, the running back that tested the best in the 3-cone drill, some guy named Tyrone Tracy Jr. So if you wanted like an extra little boost of, hey, this player also did it. Now that's like, keep in mind, this isn't the only thing we look at. It's just saying 3-cone is a nice little.
No, these are signals that factor in.
Yeah. CMC put up a blazing 6.57. So he's one of those that's like an all-timer when it comes to workouts and you think of short area quickness. Let's start off the conversation today, and I think this will be the most fun one, talking about Cam Skattebo.
Yeah, baby.
Of Arizona State, formerly of Sacramento State.
Of course.
Before that.
The Sacramento State Hornets. That we all know that.
Obviously.
Yeah, Sac State, man. What's crazy about Skattebo is, like, coming out of high school, he didn't really have any offers at all. His high school state championship game, he ran for 339-3. I went back and watched that, just throwing people aside, just like it was no big deal. And then eventually transfers to Arizona State. And you know the name because over the last couple of months, you've probably seen him on your feed. You probably saw the game against Texas, where he just went wild and he was a highlight reel. And 1,700 rushing yards, 21 touchdowns. And then as a receiver, I think that's one of the things that I like the most is that he was used a ton. And I went back and found players over the last decade that had 50 targets and over 1.75 yards per route run in college. I mean, there's very few guys. Saquon was ahead of him, Travis Etienne, Curtis Samuel, who was a running back coming out of Ohio State, the only guys that are ahead of Cam Skattebo in terms of receiving work. So there's a lot to talk about here, but I think we have to get it out of the way, Mike. Who is this man to you? What does he look like?
Well, I've said it last time I was here, right? Of General Tragg. But it's like, what's so fun about Skattebo and his name is, I mean, he could be the Scat Man. He could be General Trag. He can be Captain Caveman because he looks, kind of like a caveman. So there are so many different things we could do with Cam. And it is, ranking Cam Skattebo is unbelievably difficult because the player I watched is like, yes, how does this not work in the NFL? Like the dude he doesn't have top end speed. He's not slow. And he's not really shifty, and yet he does all these like slow motion jump cuts that people can't seem to figure out, maybe because they're so slow and methodical. And then his contact balance it's right up there with Genty of like people. He just bounces off of people, and then he's going again. Like, and the numbers, just behind the scene metrics on him he's among elite running backs. Like, it's so weird. And then you go out, and I have a bunch of industry friends. I really respect their opinions, and everyone's ranking on Cam Skattebo is very low. And I'm like, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. It reminded me, Kyle, of after watching Kendre Miller, whenever that was 2 years ago, and my colleagues have him ranked really low, and I'm like, I don't get it. What are people not liking about Kendre Miller? Like his college tape, his production, everything is there. So that's where I'm at with Skattebo. I think that he can be a very productive NFL running back. I'm going to rank him aggressively until the NFL draft proves me wrong, which I'm not saying I'm right on that NFL teams will like him. And maybe that's what people are out there are doing. They're calling the shot that he's not going to be drafted very high. But I am very intrigued by Skattebo and think that he could be like really great for fantasy. Like the dude could catch the ball and catch the ball really well, and he's just a tank who can get his goal line touchdown. So I don't see what is not to like about him. I don't see why people are just burying him, in their like closer to 10 in running back rankings. I'm like, I don't get it. I don't know what people are seeing that I'm not seeing.
Yeah, he's interesting, right? Because when you watch him play and when you look at the numbers, it all makes so much sense. Like only behind Genty in career broken tackle rate, only behind Genty this year in missed tackles forced. He was third in yards after contact per attempt behind Genty and Amari and Hampton. So his numbers, like among his peers in this class, are of the best as far as a runner.
His rushing yards
tackles.
And like the guys with his rushing yards and receiving yards, like it's essentially you can format the stat that it's Christian McCaffrey. That's the only guy who got drafted and did what Skattebo did. So it's wild. Sorry to interrupt.
No,
you're good. You're good. I am flustered.
I think the context is important on how he compares, like you said, to historically and like this year's class. But I'm with you in that I've seen similar reserves on him from the general like NFL draft media and the folks that cover that stuff, where it's like he seems like almost like not a lock, of course, but like almost certainly not going in the second round. And I think a lot of people are saying like maybe third round, he could fall to the fourth. So I don't know. If that happens, obviously we need to adjust what the NFL thinks about him. But
yes.
Yeah, I like his tape. He breaks a ton of tackles. He's not the sexiest running back by any means as far as like highlight reel plays of make you miss and crazy jumps and stuff like that. But when guys come over to tackle him, they do not. He breaks tackles all the time. And generally in fantasy, that's what I'm looking for. I will say he does kind of have this feel to me of like, whenever I have this mismatch, because I'm with you, Mike, of what the NFL thinks and like what we thought, I get like a little queasy about it. I'm like, what are we missing? And if that happens where like he does fall to the fourth round or something, he feels like one of those guys that's like, he could turn into remember that guy in college? Remember how good he was in college? Like if the NFL doesn't give him the chance. So yeah, I like him. I'm a little hesitant on kind of this reservation from the NFL, I guess.
Yeah, if I were to put his over-under of his draft pick, it's somewhere around pick 100. And right now, pick 102 is the start of the fourth round. So it's like he's on that fringe of day 2, day 3. And when you watch him, you get why it works because nobody gets lower than him. Like every single linebacker in DB is
because he's a rock. He's part of the earth.
He's a stumpier James Conner. That's what I wrote down.
Yes.
Just stumpier. And that can work.
James Conner does not overwhelm you with athleticism. He's just a really good football player and a good running back and has just the perfect physique. And I think that's where Skattebo is.
I think that if it was just he forces missed tackles, we would go, oh, that's really cool. We get this insane receiving production. And if there's an NFL team that views this player as more than just like, oh, well, he can break tackles and, he's fearless, then that can work, and it can work for fantasy. I was watching the Iowa State games, the Big 12 championship game, and there's a screen that just looks so fluid. He took it to the house, but there's another one earlier where it's like, oh, you're not just like a dump-off guy. Like, they are designing plays for you because they trust you in space and they trust you to be able to read a defense. Like, his vision of setting people up, basically punching them back and keep going is really, really awesome. And there's a quote that I found from him. He said, you don't want to tackle a guy who's coming at you hard, so you punish them before they punish you. So the more you hit them, the less they're going to want to hit you. It's like, yeah, everyone's scared of this dude.
You run through a dude's face over and over and over and over, and it's like, I don't see how he can't be that guy.
So in rookie drafts, I mean, we're calling our shot right now. Mike, you're saying you're going to be more aggressive as of right now, and I'm sure there's going to be some running backs at the combine that run in the 4.4s or 4.3 something that shoot up the board. If he goes on day 2, is he a worthy back of the first round type of guy? Because that's not where he's going right now in rookie drafts.
Yeah, I think that is perfectly fine. Betz, in our first rookie mock draft, which you can go see, it's in the Dynasty Pass, in a single quarterback, Betz got him in the middle of the second. I was chatting with a good friend of the show, Scott Barrett, because he puts out fiery stats out there, and he's been pulling some interesting Skattebo tweets. And so I was talking with him about it, of just being like, I don't know what to do. Everyone keeps ranking him low, and I see a good running back. And he reminded me of a running back that got drafted in the 3rd who ran a 4.63. 5'11", 230 pounds. That is Mr. David Montgomery. And I was like, oh, that's not a bad comp. Like, I don't expect Skattebo to go out there and be a blazing speed, but if you get him, it's like 4.63. 4.63 feels like a that's it. Like, just lower the guy into his casket. He's never going to make it in the NFL. But it's not true. It is just not true.
Kyron, to your point, ran 4.65.
Yes. Kyron is another guy that I couldn't believe how good this player was on tape. And then he shows up and he runs slow, and it's, oh, well, I guess he's no longer valid. The NFL is going to hate him because he's so slow. Look who's good. Kyron Williams.
Yeah,
weird, man.
It's the 40 time is double counted when how many times does a player get to go untouched for 40 straight yards? It doesn't happen. When it does happen, we go, look at that hole that the offensive line got for them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, not everybody can be Saquon, who's great at everything and good. So,
correct.
Yeah, he's a player.
What do you mean, 2nd overall pick, right?
Dave Gettleman knew this guy was going to win a Super Bowl one day.
Man, Dave stole so much greatness from us, guys. Like, do you realize?
I bet he's taking credit right now.
That's what I look back on now, is how many years of greatness, of peak Saquon Barkley did we lose out on? Because this clown over here is like, I'm going to build my team with a 2nd overall pick being a running back. Now, I'm not saying he doesn't deserve to be that because he's so good, but you're building an NFL team. Like, a running back is a part of the solution. It's not the solution. Freaking Dave Gettleman.
I kind of miss that he's not really a part of the show anymore.
Hey, it's me.
Dave. The best thing about Dave was the COVID year NFL draft, where everybody else was set up with like 6 monitors, everything's ready to go. He just has one laptop stacked on like 3 textbooks at home in his kitchen. I mean, that was beautiful.
Yeah, because he's not a nerd, Betz. He's not in his parents' basement typing on computers.
That was so good.
He's a winner. Get out of my life.
Let's take a quick break, and then we'll talk about the rest of these running backs. Next guy we're going to talk about is Kansas's Devin Neal, who is basically been a Mr. Kansas his entire life. Like, I went back through, like, Kansas basketball was like his life growing up. He was number 1 in the state in the recruit, and now he holds the records for career rushing yardage, rushing touchdowns, which is kind of cool. Like, if your home state has a dude that just like loves the school, stays there, and then he's really, really good and productive, it's good stuff. Devin Neal checks a lot of boxes in terms of breakout age, height, weight right now, 5'11", 215. All the production stuff's there. And yet I want to ask the question, like, what is his best trait? Because I think he's a good all-around back. And yet I don't know what his trump card is at the next level. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. He's a good all-around back. I just was working through the film. I'm like, okay, I think he has good instincts. I think he has good feet. I get why he worked in college football. I just don't know if he's going to be able to elevate among these other players. So, Betz, is there anything that you saw that you're like, this is a wow, like a trump card thing?
Not necessarily in that aspect. I will say, does the 215 as far as his weight seem kind?
Oh, that's one of my biggest notes. I wrote baloney
Because I watched him first.
215, yeah, in your bra.
I watched him first,
Like, get
then
outta
went
here.
to our stuff and looked at his measurements and everything, and I was like, wait a minute. Really? So he's a guy that I have
And there's
circled in
also
giant
chatter
red
of like,
pen.
he's going to run this real fast 40. I'm like, what? This was another, I'm like, what am I watching?
Yeah.
Where people are like, this guy's 215. He might run he's going to be in the 4.3s. I'm like, what?
I haven't
That would
heard the
blow my
4.3s
mind.
thing. I mean, I'd be shocked. I feel like he's going to come in at like 205 or something when we really get the measurements. But that was my first note, is like, I don't think he's as big as the internet says.
No.
And he doesn't play that way.
He is not.
He's not.
The internet.
The internet.
Fat
You can't put
liar.
anything on the internet if it's not true. He doesn't really play that way anyway, but I just want to point that out. I thought he had really nice like short area quickness. Like when he gets to the second level, you know how some guys, they kind of like slow down and then chop their feet and then try to change direction. He can change direction pretty fluidly without losing speed, which I thought was really nice. Looked pretty natural in the pass game, which I'm always a fan of. I thought at Kansas they did a lot with him where they tried to get him on like designed swing routes and stuff to get him on the edge and get him in the perimeter. And when that worked, he looked great in that situation. So I don't have a strong take on him, quite honestly. Like, I think, like you said, Kyle, he's pretty good at a lot of things. I don't think he's incredible at any one thing. And I do have concerns about what his size potentially could limit him doing in the NFL, if that makes sense. So I don't really see a potential NFL workhorse, if I'm being honest. I see a guy who probably carves out a role in an offense. How many touches is that? Is he efficient enough to be good for fantasy is my question on him. But definitely some good stuff on tape, but nothing that wowed me.
Yeah, I'm with you, Betz. I didn't dislike Devin Neal at all. My notes are, because I went from Skattebo to Devin Neal, and they are very different players, where Skattebo is like this lumbering guy who does these jump cuts. Devin Neal, he slithers like a snake. Like, he's just, he doesn't really leave the ground with jump cuts. He just kind of shifts his hips and just enough to make he's got some good wiggle and can make people miss. I noted he's got a little bit of that Lev Bell running style, which, and man, after Lev Bell, I really thought that more guys would try to emulate that, of the away from the I get the ball, I immediately run as fast as I can. It's like, I get the ball, no, and I'm going to let the play kind of filter out in front of me, and then I'm going to figure out where I got to go. And Lev Bell was unbelievably good at it. I thought Devin Neal had a little bit of that to the game, and the reception profile is good. And it was, oh man. So Jason and I had quite the ride here with Devin Neal, because I'm in office talking to, if you're familiar, we have this character, we call him the Falcon around here. He helps us out on the main show.
He loves Dynasty, by the way.
And yeah. I mean, he's super plugged in, and we were just he took Devin Neal above Skattebo in our mock for the Dynasty Pass. And so I was giving him, just I'm like, all right, you got to be absolutely kidding me about this. And so then we've just been chatting about it. The way I see Devin Neal, like, I don't understand what people say about his size. I don't know why people are saying like really, really fast, but like I know who he is. I'm like, this guy, because he's not bad. Like, this is Devin Singletary. and like a bit smaller, stronger than you think he would be at that size. I'm not saying Devin Neal's really strong, but and good wiggle, and he looks like a good running back. And I think he's going to test like that. And then I went, oh, wait a minute, it's the same name. Like that was not the pull at all. And then later on in the office, like a few days later, I went, hey Jason, do you have a comp for Devin Neal? And he's like, yeah, it's Devin Singletary. I'm like, dude. And he's like, and I didn't even realize his name was Devin. So we had the exact same conversation and exact same comp. So clearly we have Devin Neal completely figured out.
Obviously.
Nailed. No more analysis needed.
That's funny. I have a Devin Singletary comp for a different running back coming up. Probably more same size. But I think at the end of the day, like the production is there. So you get why he makes sense in terms of dominator rating. 34%. We're looking at 31%. If you hit that, you can end up being a starting running back in the NFL. But he's not going to overpower anybody. He's not going to break tackles. Like if you go from Skattebo to Neal, you're going to go like, this dude isn't shoving anybody. He took a screen to the house against Colorado. It's kind of like what you were talking about, Betz. Like he's a natural pass catcher. I just don't know if he's great at anything. And I think he's going to run in the 4.5s, which is fine. Like a size comp that I came up with was Tony Pollard, who went in the 4th round, who only ran a 4.52. And like there was a period where you weren't even sure he was the backup running back for Zeke because they drafted another running back, Mike Weber, that same year. So I think you're going to end up being around this, 4th round draft capital. Depends on the landing spot. Good. We're just not going to chase the career rushing yardage total for Kansas. That's just not going to move us. So any last thoughts, Betz?
No, I think you summed it up pretty well. And actually, I think the Devin Singletary comp is interesting because obviously thinking about Singletary now, it's like, I don't want that dude, right? Like he's pretty much lost his job. He might not even get a contract next year. We'll see.
Good NFL career.
But yeah, if you got anything close to that for 3 years from a rookie pick, you'd be doing cartwheels. So yeah, I think Neal is a guy that we all don't love, and we're kind of waiting to see what the NFL says.
All right, next name we're going to talk about is Ollie Gordon II out of Oklahoma State, who you will have a very hard time finding a comp for a player that's this tall, that runs this way. There's very few players that are 6'2" and above. Now, he might come in at 6'1", but 6'2" and above in the NFL just doesn't happen. And his sophomore year was legendary to the point of like, we almost like, I wish you would have come out after that year.
Would he be allowed to?
No. But I'm saying like when players peak,
yeah,
and then you kind of see a regression, and he also dealt with some off the field stuff of DUI. It does change a little bit of like, did I just see the best of this player? Because his sophomore year, 1,700 yards, 21 rushing touchdowns, over 2,000 scrimmage yards is banana stuff. And you're looking at
it's like Chuba
at Oklahoma State.
Yeah. Didn't Chuba had like that huge year? Then the numbers went way down the next year.
And Chuba's a taller prospect too. Like it's an interesting type when you see an upright runner with the long strides. When they break free, Derrick Henry's the tallest running back, 6'3". But when he breaks free, you're like, these legs look different than everybody else when he's running full speed. There are times with tall running backs where they have to kind of like get up to speed. And so at the line of scrimmage, Derrick Henry gets stuffed all the time because it's not going to work. But Mike, what's your thoughts on Gordon? Because production-wise, if we just look at that sophomore year, it's off the charts.
Yeah, it very exciting. And for reference, I only watched this year for Gordon, and I thought he was okay. He's a strange player because there are flashes where you see a really big, exciting play. He is not afraid of contact. Like he's a big, strong dude who plays big and strong. You guys you talked to Caleb Johnson, who's another big prospect, and I don't think Caleb plays big. Where Gordon takes advantage of his size, but he doesn't have he's going through you, or he can sometimes beat people with speed, but he's not going to beat you with shift. He's not going to beat you with wiggle. So he's concerning from that point to me of like, if you have this one thing that you're really good at, which is your power, but you don't have the total speed and everything to back it up, then it's an issue. But the pass catching is still intriguing to be that large and that strong and be a good pass catcher. Like if they could figure out plays to get to get him up to speed faster, which like on screens and things like that. Which it's always been frustrating that they haven't figured out how to do that with Derrick Henry because of the getting stuffed at the line. You're like, get him up to speed. So I'm not overwhelmingly on the side of Gordon working out.
Yeah, it's one of those things, like I agree with you guys in terms of the sophomore year type stuff, because like I follow college pretty closely enough to like know that, Ollie Gordon was incredible in 2023. Doak Walker Award winner, like the dude. But then this past year, like I didn't hear anything about him like almost ever. And I think part of the reason why is the team was terrible this year. They went from a 10-win team 2 years ago when he put up all those numbers. They won 3 games this past year. So the general team environment around him was terrible, which for a guy who, can give you like 20 carries in a game is pretty important when you're not winning a lot of games. So I think that's part of the reason the stuff fell off. I will say I watched a couple of 2023 games just to get a sense of like, what was this like compared to this year? And the 2023 tape has some really good stuff on it, like explosive, breaking tackles, good long speed, like really exciting type stuff. And then I watched him this year and it's just like, nothing really great. Like the vision was pretty.
Where's the heart?
What did you say, it was the heart?
I said, where's the heart? Like
from him or the team?
For both?
Not there. It wasn't there, Mike. The vision was really was really not good this year. Like there's so many times where he just decides the play's over, I'm going to put my head down and just kind of go at my alignment and hope that I get 2 yards here. Where it's like, dude, if you just waited, and obviously, who am I to say this? I'm just a nerd sitting here talking about this. But if you just waited a second, cut back, there's a wide open lane right here. So the vision, I think, is definitely not there. At least it wasn't this past year. But any guy that can go out and put up 2,000 scrimmage yards in a year and win the Doak Walker Award winner, the hit rate on those guys is pretty insane. So like I'm leaving my eyes open for Ollie Gordon to say maybe it was just a down season. And I definitely want to see where he goes as far as the NFL draft. But yeah, definitely 2024 was a big step back.
I mean, he's a unicorn. Like I said, comp-wise, it's really hard to find players that are this big that have this type of production and can catch the ball. So there was a change. I did some deep digging. One of the biggest changes from 2023 to 2024, he got an NIL deal with McDonald's in 2024.
There you go.
So you tell me. You tell me what changed.
That double quarter pounder with cheese.
It is funny when you go across different like teams and what like their players get in terms of their money. Like he got over $500,000 this year. So
good for him.
Cam Skattebo's one of his deals was with cold beers and cheeseburgers, which is like just an Arizona restaurant.
I know about them. They have cheeseburgers and cold beers.
And Skattebo said, that's my kind of place. That's what I want to go to. So I think Ollie Gordon has this wide range of outcomes. If you're one of those people that just want to call your shot and say, he's a dude and he's different and it was a weird year, there are lots of different reasons for it. I don't mind. Like, I think he has a way higher ceiling than taking somebody like Devin Neal. You also could have somebody who flames out and just doesn't work in the NFL because he's tall. His patience is like when you mix that with long legs, it's awesome. It also has a bunch of negative runs. So it kind of depends on the team, depends on the fit. But I don't mind gambling in the second round of your rookie draft if you want to shoot for the moon.
Betz, those Walker winners.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. The award winners, the Doak Walker Award, which is the best running back in college football, the hit rate is nuts. Like it was Genty this year. 2 years ago, it was Gordon. In 2022, we had Bijan, then Kem Walker, Najee, Jonathan Taylor twice, Bryce Love, didn't work out. Donta Foreman didn't really work out, but still stuck around the league.
Tore his Achilles.
Yeah. And then we had Derrick Henry and Melvin Gordon. So it's like going back for a decade. This is a pretty sweet
That's
hit
crazy.
Rate. So that's why I was saying, like 2023, it looked great. 2024 left a lot to be desired. So I'm willing to kind of hold my opinion on him until we really see what happens in the NFL draft.
All right, next running back we'll talk about is Tennessee's Dylan Sampson, who I did some research. He surpassed Eddie Lacy as his high school's all-time leading rusher, which is a fun little stat. He did win SEC Offensive Player of the Year, which I kind of did the same thing that Betz did, where you go back through and you look over the years and say, like, SEC is a big-time conference. If you are the offensive player of the year for this conference, it's usually pretty good for the NFL. Like if you go all the way back, it's been mostly first-round players and a couple of third rounds here with Hendon Hooker, Trey Mason. The biggest question I have, because 22 rushing touchdowns is the most ever in Tennessee's history, all the way back to 1929. He broke a record. Dylan Sampson is never going to be big enough to be an every down running back, but the production speaks for itself. The biggest issue is just, do we discount players from Tennessee? Because their offense is so spread out that he's basically playing 5-on-5 football. That's the way I was explaining it to Betz. Is like, they have their linemen, they block the 4 dudes, can you get past a linebacker? That's basically all he had to do a lot of the time because they're running these spread formations. So do you guys discount that when you watch a film of a player and go, look at all these lanes? Because he's not really having to have stack box at all. So Betz, did you see that?
For sure, yeah. Like any carry that he has that's not inside the red zone or the 10-yard line, it's pretty much non-stacked box. 5 guys, 6 guys in the box. And I remember talking about Jalen Wright last year where it's like the explosiveness is so evident on tape. But when one guy is touching one sideline as far as wide receiver, the other wide receiver is touching the other sideline, you have these massive lanes to run through where it's just so spread out that I definitely think you had to have some context around Jalen Wright's season at Tennessee 2 years ago and kind of also see the same thing here with Sampson. So it's a factor. I'm not saying that's why he will or won't succeed in the NFL, but I think you see some concerns from guys that do come from this program for that reason, specifically at running back. Yeah, Sampson, like, I thought he was okay. Like, solid one-cut ability. I thought at the goal line, he was actually pretty good for his size. Like, not going to be a goal line back that just lowers his shoulder and goes for it, but he's really good at understanding kind of where the lane is, and once he sees it, he goes for it, and is pretty successful at doing that. You don't score, what did he score this year? 22 rushing touchdowns without having that ability. That said, is an NFL team going to put a 5'11", generously saying 200 pounds here, running back at the goal line? I would be shocked. And so then you're asking yourself, what is the ceiling for fantasy even going to be for a guy like this? So some stuff to like, definitely some things to be concerned about, namely the kind of design of the program he was in, but also the size is definitely a question mark for me.
Yeah, he won me over. Like I was like, I think I like this guy.
I like him,
but I don't. I don't think it's going to work for the NFL. A couple notes that I had, like, yes, all those things are true about the offense, but I felt like he was navigating, like, he would navigate the crease well. Like, I mean, he was really good at what they were asking him to do at, finding a tiny crease and getting through it because he is smaller. I said it looks like he has good speed. I'm not 100% sure on it. And because, he's getting to the edge. He's beating college linebackers. I'm not sure if he can beat NFL linebackers to the edge. And then I wish he was better in one-on-one, where that's kind of another thing that Jason and I look for is if an opportunity presents itself and it's just one guy, can you beat that one guy regularly? Every once in a while a defender makes a great tackle, but if it's 1v1 and you know where you're going and you have a head of steam, you should beat that guy. And so I was a little disappointed when it came to those things. But overall, it's like I kind of like this guy. But with his size, unless he lands with a very creative offensive head coach, you're like, this is a insurance to insurance type of running back.
I think there is room for running backs of this size to be successful. Like, I thought he was good around the goal line, despite being a smaller dude. And my thought is, in terms of somebody who's around 200 pounds, about 5'10", kind of can do it all. I think I put down his highest outcome is he's James Cook without the same elite hands. Like, I don't think he's ever going to be that. But, like, James Cook went from he can't run around the goal line to 16 rushing touchdowns.
Right.
So I think that's a high-end outcome. I think Tajay Spears was another player that's like, okay, I think he's good at a lot of stuff. I think he can be used, but never going to see more than like 15 touches in a game. So I like Dylan Sampson. He just needs the right landing spot. He didn't run a ton of zone stuff. It was a lot of gap, and you saw that with formations and the way that they have stuff. Like, it's going to bug me for a while because Tennessee players, Jalen Wright, Hendon Hooker, all these dudes, Jalen...
Alvin Kamara.
Well, it was like before a different system, but like recently, I can't look at this offense and say like, that guy's going to work. It's been not good. I mean, it's Cedric Tillman.
They trick us. They trick us pretty good.
I was going to say, Cedric Tillman,
I like the production.
People kind of liked him coming out, and then he just fell on the depth chart, and then we finally saw an opportunity.
Oh, we're back. We are so back with Cedric Tillman.
We just need Jameis. That's all we need to unlock Cedric Tillman.
Well, that's not happening.
All right, one more name we're going to highlight. It's RJ Harvey of UCF, who was a, quote, graduate student. Because in college, he actually went to Virginia first as a quarterback, transferred, got hurt, and so his career is a little bit longer than other people. His NIL deal was with No Bull this year.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the athletic wear.
Yeah. It's cool to figure this stuff out. I was like, okay, what's your thing? Like, it's the Chipotle.
Can you only do one?
No. You can do a bunch of different ones.
Oh.
Like, a lot of them are like local things. So I usually just kind of look like Sampson got Amazon Prime. That's a good one.
That's big time.
To get.
Yeah, it is.
So Harvey had 22 rushing touchdowns this past year. And like, I think he's good at getting chunk gains. He likes throwing the kind of the hezzy, the head fake, but he's not going to overpower somebody. He's not a physical runner. I think he's just really capped at what he can be at the next level. There's some people that really like him and like his final year production and his 43% dominator score. Like, it's good. I just worry in the NFL. So he's my Devin Singletary comp of that would be the best case outcome for him.
I already did it. You can't use it again.
What else you got, Kyle?
Okay.
Yeah. Give me something else.
He's out of the league. That's another case. It's not going to matter in 3 years.
Okay. Well, that's not a very specific player comp. But...
You can make the age comp of last year for Ray Davis. He was a guy that played forever in college.
He's not as big, though.
No, I know. But just like a guy that played forever in college, had some good stuff on tape, put up production later in his career. He has a role in the NFL. That's I think that's what you're looking for a guy like this. Just for context, I don't know if you shared this, Kyle. I may have missed it, but he got recruited as a quarterback to to UVA, and then the COVID year happened, so he got recruited and was a freshman in 2019, which is crazy. This guy's been in college for forever. ACL injury, then transfers to being a running back. So like he's kind of still developing into that position. He's very compact, 5'9", 208, like, and it's not like he's small as from like a strength definition. Like he's built to kind of handle touches, and he looks good when he does it. But I definitely have concerns about just the overall, entering the NFL at age 24 historically has not worked out great. Playing 5 or 6 years in college historically has not worked out great. And I think he's a guy that will earn work in the NFL in a role that I'm not sure will be great for fantasy, if that makes sense. Like, could he be a third down back, or could he be a change of pace type of guy? I think possible. But I would be so surprised if this is a guy that in a year or two we're like, okay, here we go, 20 touches for RJ Harvey in this game, and he's the RB1 on the roster. I'd be very, very surprised. But I was just telling you guys before we started recording, Dane Brugler, who we all respect his work with The Athletic, he put out his top 100 prospect list overall. So looking at every single player in the draft, Harvey made the top 100. So like the NFL, I think, is going to like this guy. So that at least he has that going for him, that I think he'll earn a roster spot and he'll earn a role in an offense. What he does with it, I'm not sure.
As a former quarterback, you kind of see that he's not trying to be physical. Like he's not trying to like stiff arm people. He relies more on being elusive, breaking stuff outside, which can work in the right scheme, and he can get chunk gains consistently. There was a couple of plays against Arizona. I was watching the film and I was like, okay, I get why teams might like him in the right situation, but he's just not a physical runner. He was also the lowest graded pass blocker per PFF, which some people don't care about that stuff, but in terms of playing time, it can matter too. But Mike, any last thoughts on Harvey?
No, you guys covered it. He's with the age combined with the size, it'd be pretty surprising to see a substantial draft investment from a team into Harvey.
Jason is the highest on the ranks, which isn't saying much, but I just want somebody up there just to like tag Jason, just blow him up. Like, why do you love RJ Harvey so much? So tomorrow, just, make sure you do that when you got
to love that production profile.
There's a bunch more names that are going to get, maybe round 4, round 5, and those are all the names in Dynasty that, at the end of the day, their dart throws, especially at the running back position, doesn't really matter. I think my theme that I just want to give is that running backs who don't wow with size and long speed, you're going to be like, oh man, this dude ran a 4.56 or a 4.6. Oh, well, he's dead. They can work in the NFL if they have the pass catching work. And so LaQuint Allen Jr. of Syracuse and Jordan James, who basically is a very similar size to Bucky Irving at Oregon, are players that I think are not going to test well, but I think between the tackles, they're good. Their long speed's not going to wow. I just want to throw their names out there as just names to know, and you'll be able to find them after the combine in our production profile. But a name that's actually moved up the board, a lot of Miami players have actually, is Damian Martinez. And Betz, you wanted to mention him real quick.
Yeah, I liked him actually quite a bit watching him. 6 foot, 230, definitely has kind of RB1 NFL size. He was just ahead of Caleb Johnson and Travion Henderson yards after contact per attempt this year. 4.46 is a very good number. I thought he was just a really fluid runner, good footwork. He can catch the ball when he's asked to. They're not going to design stuff for him, but check downs and swing passes, stuff like that. He can do it. First Miami running back, I thought this was interesting, to run for over 1,000 yards since 2016. So we finally saw some production there down in Miami. But Damian Martinez is a guy to monitor. Kyle gave us the warning about the Senior Bowl thing.
He's just getting a bump.
But he is getting a bump right now because of what folks are saying was a great Senior Bowl for him. So just want to put that name on your radar. I think he's an interesting potential day 3 guy.
Do you guys remember when Donovan Edwards was on the cover of NCAA football?
Sure do.
Yeah. What happened?
That dude made a lot of money the last couple of years.
And lost a lot of money in the last couple of years.
I think he just said hey, I'm making it all in about 2 years with my NIL, and then I'm done.
And logging out?
Pretty much. He won a natty, so
yeah,
it's not the worst.
His career is pretty fascinating.
I went down a long rabbit hole about NIL and seeing which players make the most, and it's a different world.
Do we have any correlation?
No, right now we have players that are we need years of data, people.
Okay.
It's still pretty young, but it's we're talking about players right now. And when we started this podcast, or even when we started you guys were doing this a decade ago, the conversation of what these players were doing and what we cared about in terms of production, we have to shift a lot of stuff, especially some of these quarterbacks and wide receivers. If they're older, we're I get it now. Where before it was you're 22, I hate you. Get out of here.
Well, you're so old. Just retire.
Oh, man. So if you want to get all those rankings, you can get them in the Dynasty Pass, part of the Ultimate Draft Kit Plus. Next week, we will be back and we'll get to talk about quarterback. And it'll be Betz and I getting to discuss stuff. We'll see you then.
Goodbye.
Thanks for listening to the Fantasy Footballers Dynasty Podcast. If you want to take your Dynasty skills to the next level, check out thefantasyfootballers.com.